The candles were still burning when the screaming started, and none of us realized it was coming from inside the house. It was supposed to be the happiest night of my life. That's what birthdays are meant to be, right? A celebration. Friends. Laughter. One moment where the world pauses just to remind you that you're still here. Still alive. Still safe. That illusion didn't even last until midnight. Because somewhere between the cake being cut and the lights being turned off, something went wrong. Terribly wrong. And by the time we understood what was happening, it was already too late to stop it. People think horror begins with monsters or shadows or things that go bump in the night. But that's not how it really starts. Real horror begins quietly. During moments you trust the most. Moments you lower your guard. Moments like birthdays. I still remember the exact second the feeling changed. The room went quiet in a way that didn't make sense. Not peaceful. Not calm. Just wrong. Like someone had muted the world but forgotten to warn us first. The laughter died out. The music stopped. And suddenly everyone was looking around, unsure why their smiles felt forced. That's when I noticed the clock. 11:47 p.m. I had a strange thought then, one that didn't belong in my head. A whisper of unease that said, "You shouldn't have celebrated tonight." I tried to shake it off. Tried to convince myself it was just nerves. Birthdays can be emotional. People get weird about getting older. That's normal, right? But the feeling didn't go away. It grew heavier. Like the air itself was pressing down on my chest. Someone joked that it felt colder inside the house. Someone else laughed too loudly. Another friend asked if anyone else heard that sound. What sound? I asked. They didn't answer. Because whatever it was had already stopped. That's the thing about these stories. Every single one of them has a moment like this. A moment where everything could have gone back to normal if someone had just paid attention. If someone had trusted their instincts instead of laughing it off. But no one ever does. Birthdays have a strange kind of power. You gather people together. You light candles. You make wishes. You invite attention, seen and unseen, into your space. And sometimes something listens. Sometimes something waits. What you're about to hear isn't one story. It's three. 3 true birthday nights where celebrations turned into nightmares. Where friends vanished. Where houses stopped feeling safe. Where the only thing worse than what happened was the fact that no one could fully explain it afterward. Police reports exist for these nights. Witnesses still refused to talk. And in one case, the birthday decorations were still hanging when investigators arrived, untouched, swaying gently, as if the party had never ended. But it had. Abruptly. Violently. And for the people involved, birthdays were never the same again. So if you're listening to this late at night, if your birthday is coming up, or if you've ever felt like something was off during a celebration, you might want to stop now. My name is Ryan, and up until that night I would have described my life as painfully normal. I was turning 24, nothing special, nothing dramatic. Just another birthday marking another year gone by. I wasn't rich, famous, or particularly adventurous. I worked a regular office job in a mid-sized American town where nothing ever made the news unless someone's dog went missing or a new coffee shop opened downtown. That night I was at my parents' house, the same place I'd celebrated almost every birthday since I was a kid. A quiet suburban neighborhood. Neatly trimmed lawns. Streetlights humming softly outside. The kind of place where you feel safe without even realizing it. It was around 8:30 p.m. when everything was settling into place. The party wasn't big. Just close friends, a few cousins, my parents. People I trusted. People who knew me well enough that I didn't have to pretend to be someone else. The living room was warm, filled with soft yellow light. The smell of pizza and cake hung in the air. There was music playing quietly in the background. Nothing loud, just enough to fill the silence. I remember feeling content. Not excited. Not emotional. Just comfortable. Like this was exactly where I was supposed to be. I was sitting on the couch scrolling through my phone, half listening to conversations around me. My mom was in the kitchen cutting the cake. My dad was laughing with my uncle about some old story I'd heard 100 times before. My friends were teasing me about getting older, joking about how this is when life really starts. At that moment I believed them. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't anxious. In fact, I remember thinking how nice it was that nothing dramatic was happening. No surprises. No chaos. Just a normal birthday night winding down like all the others. Outside, the weather was calm. No wind. No rain. The windows were slightly open, letting in cool evening air. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked once, then went quiet again. Everything felt ordinary. Safe. Around 9:15 p.m., we gathered around the dining table. The cake was placed in the center, candles already lit, their small flames flickering gently. Everyone started singing. I smiled, embarrassed in that familiar birthday way, wondering what I was supposed to wish for this year. I didn't feel watched. I didn't feel afraid. I didn't feel like anything bad was coming. If someone had told me that night would end in fear, confusion, and unanswered questions, I would have laughed in their face. After the candles were blown out, people clapped. Someone snapped a photo. Another friend joked about how nothing weird happened this year. And everyone laughed. I remember standing up to grab a plate, thinking about how quickly the night was going by, thinking about work the next day, thinking about how I should probably start acting more like an adult, completely unaware that this was the last moment of true normalcy I'd have for a long time. Because birthdays don't always end when the cake is gone. Sometimes, that's when they really begin. After the cake was cut and the plates were stacked in the sink, the night began to thin out the way it always did. One by one, people started saying their goodbyes. Hugs at the door. Jokes about meeting up again soon. The familiar sound of car doors closing outside. Engines starting. Headlights briefly sweeping across the living room walls before disappearing down the street. By 10:30 p.m. the house felt different. Not empty. Just quieter in a way that didn't quite match how full it had been minutes earlier. The kind of quiet where every sound seems a little louder than it should be. My parents went upstairs to get ready for bed. My mom reminded me to lock the doors before turning in. I told her I would, without really thinking about it. I'd done that 1,000 times before. I stayed downstairs alone, cleaning up the last of the cups and napkins, letting the TV play softly in the background. Some late-night sitcom rerun I wasn't really watching. That's when I heard it. A faint sound, barely noticeable at first. A soft thump. I paused, holding a stack of paper plates in my hand, listening. The house settled the way houses do at night. Pipes creaked. The refrigerator hummed. I told myself that was all it was. Just normal noises. Old walls adjusting to cooler air. Still, something about that sound didn't sit right. A few minutes later, another noise followed. This one was lighter. Almost like a shuffle. Not loud enough to be alarming. Not clear enough to identify. It came from somewhere near the back of the house. Maybe outside. Maybe inside. I couldn't tell. I felt a small flicker of unease, the kind you immediately try to dismiss. I turned the TV volume up slightly. Outside, the streetlights cast long, pale shadows across the lawn. The neighborhood was still. Too still. No cars passing. No distant music. No laughter drifting from nearby houses like earlier in the evening. Just silence. I finished cleaning and locked the front door, then the back. The familiar click of the locks usually brought comfort. That night it didn't. As I walked back into the living room, I had the strange sensation that the space felt smaller. Like the air had thickened somehow. The same furniture. The same walls. But something about it felt compressed, like the room was holding its breath. I sat down on the couch and checked my phone. No new notifications. No messages. The time read 11:02 p.m. That's when I became aware of another feeling. The sense of being watched. It didn't come all at once. It crept in slowly like a thought you don't want to finish. There was no sound to go with it. No movement I could point to. Just an instinct, deep and uncomfortable, that I wasn't as alone as I believed. I glanced toward the hallway leading to the back rooms. Nothing. The hallway light was off, leaving it swallowed in shadow. I told myself I was being stupid. Too much sugar. Too late at night. Too many horror videos watched alone. Still, I didn't turn my back on it. Then somewhere outside there was a faint metallic sound. A soft scrape. It was subtle. Quick. Gone almost as soon as I noticed it. It might have been the wind brushing against something. Except there was no wind. I stood up, heart beating just a little faster than before, and moved toward the window overlooking the backyard. The glass was cool against my fingertips as I leaned closer. The yard looked exactly the same. Fence intact. Trash cans by the shed. Nothing out of place. And yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. Not in a way I could see, but in a way I could feel. I stepped back from the window, telling myself I needed sleep. That's when the house made one more sound, quiet, deliberate, and too close to ignore. And for the first time that night, I felt certain of one thing. Whatever was making those noises, it wasn't part of the house. The sound came again. This time it wasn't subtle. It was a slow, deliberate creak, like weight being placed where it shouldn't be. I froze in the middle of the living room, my breath caught halfway in my chest. The TV kept playing behind me, laugh track echoing through the house, horribly out of place. The noise came from the backyard. Not the fence. Not the trees. The deck. My heart started pounding hard enough that I could feel it in my throat. I moved toward the back window again, every step careful, controlled, like sudden movement might somehow make things worse. The moment I pulled the curtain aside, the air in the room changed. It felt heavier, thicker, like the house itself had dropped into a deeper silence. The motion light snapped on, and standing at the edge of the deck, half in shadow, half in that harsh white glow, was a figure that didn't belong there. It was tall, too tall. Its shoulders were slumped forward at an unnatural angle, arms hanging longer than they should have, fingers almost brushing the wooden planks. I couldn't make out a face, just the suggestion of one dark where eyes should be, unmoving, locked in my direction. It wasn't trying to hide. It was waiting. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to run, but I couldn't move. My legs felt disconnected, like they no longer belonged to me. The figure shifted slightly, and the wood beneath it groaned again under its weight. That sound snapped something inside me. This wasn't my imagination. This wasn't a shadow or a trick of light. Something was standing in my backyard, and it knew I was watching. The figure took a slow step forward. The motion light flickered. For just a split second I saw more of it. Skin stretched tight and pale, almost gray. Its head tilted slightly to one side like it was trying to understand what it was looking at. Me. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the edge of the rug. My breathing turned sharp and fast, each inhale burning my chest. The laughter from the TV cut off as I knocked the remote to the floor. Silence rushed in to fill the space. From upstairs I could hear my parents moving in their room, unaware. Asleep. Safe for now. Another creak came from outside. Closer. The realization hit me all at once, cold and crushing. The back door was only glass and a thin lock. I turned just as the door handle twitched. Not rattled. Not yanked. Turned slowly, carefully, like whoever was on the other side didn't want to make noise. Panic exploded through me. I lunged forward and slammed my hand against the lock, checking it even though I knew I'd already secured it. My fingers were shaking so badly I could barely grip the handle. Behind the glass, a shadow passed across the porch light. Then another sound, different from before. A soft, wet breathing. It fogged the lower corner of the glass. That was the moment fear stopped being abstract. This thing wasn't just outside. It was testing the house. I backed away, every nerve screaming, my mind racing through impossible questions. How long had it been there? Had it watched the party? Had it been waiting for everyone to leave? The handle moved again. This time harder. The glass vibrated. I realized then with terrifying clarity that whatever was on my porch wasn't curious anymore. It was impatient. And if the door failed, I wouldn't have time to scream. The door handle jerked violently. Not slowly. Not carefully. Yanked hard enough that the entire glass panel rattled in its frame. I didn't think. I reacted. I spun and ran. My socks slid across the hardwood as I sprinted toward the hallway. My heartbeat slamming so loud I was sure it could hear it. Every instinct screamed at me to wake my parents, to scream for help. But fear strangled the sound in my throat. Behind me, I don't remember falling asleep. One moment I was sitting on the edge of my bed, knees pulled tight to my chest, listening to my own breathing shake the silence, and the next, gray light was spilling through the curtains. Morning. For a few seconds, relief washed over me so strongly it almost made me dizzy. The house was quiet in the normal way now. No footsteps. No scraping. No pressure in the air. Just the distant hum of a car passing on the street and the soft ticking of the hallway clock. I was still alive. I stood slowly, half expecting something to lunge from the shadows the moment my feet touched the floor. Nothing did. The hallway looked ordinary again. Too ordinary. My parents were already awake when I came downstairs. They were laughing over coffee like it was any other morning. When I told them what happened, every sound, every movement, every second of terror, they listened, but I could see it in their eyes. Concern mixed with doubt. My dad checked the doors and windows. All locked. No damage. No signs of forced entry. The back porch light I swore had been on all night was switched off. No footprints, he said, glancing at the fresh snow outside. Not a single one. That didn't make sense. It had snowed all night. Thick, heavy snow that should have preserved every step. I went outside myself, heart pounding again. The yard was untouched. Smooth. White. Perfect. No tracks leading to the house. No tracks leaving it. Just one thing that didn't belong. Near the side of the barn where the light barely reached, the snow was disturbed. Pressed down in a wide, uneven shape, like something had stood there for a long time. Not walking. Not pacing. Waiting. We called the police anyway. They were polite. Professional. They checked the perimeter, asked questions, wrote notes. One of them suggested an animal. Another mentioned stress, imagination, the excitement of a birthday night. They left after 20 minutes. By noon the house felt normal again. Too normal. The kind of normal that makes you feel foolish for being afraid. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. That night, while cleaning my room, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. My bedroom window was unlocked. I know I locked it. I always do. Especially in winter. There was no damage to the frame. No broken glass. Just the latch turned open as if someone had tested it and left it that way on purpose. I didn't sleep in my room after that. Weeks passed. Then months. Life moved on like it always does. People stopped asking about my birthday. I stopped talking about that night. But sometimes when winter comes back and the snow falls heavy and silent, I wake up with that same feeling, that pressure in the air. And every once in a while, early in the morning, I find something strange outside the house. Not footprints. Just areas of snow pressed flat near the windows. Like someone stood there long enough to watch and decided they didn't need to come inside anymore. Because now they know exactly where I sleep.